The more attractive you are, the more you're going to get hurt in this world. This is why beautiful people like Beyonce or models get cheated on, and they end up actually staying with the person. The more attractive you are, the more people can feel like they can play you, because the chase was exciting for them, right? And then they got the beautiful person, which is you. But then they want to prove to themselves that they can even do better or they can do more because you make them insecure. Your beauty intimidates the world. And the sad part is we then internalize the mistreatment that we receive from the world or from partners. And what ends up happening is that you end up looking at a broken reflection to see yourself. The insecurity of the man is now inside of you, and you genuinely believe that you can't do better, that there's no one out there for you, and that you'll be single forever because your dream guy mistreated you, even if you are the most attractive person they've ever dated or seen. Beautiful women will get played. You are a toy for them, but how you can win yourself back is to genuinely have strict boundaries the second they cross it. Personally, if you don't respond to me in 3 days, I'm done with you. The second they stop being your dream man, you better leave. Otherwise, you will start to hate yourself, you will start to get insecure, you'll start to get dirty, and you'll start fighting, and you'll start making them insecure to make yourself feel better. This is your sign. Your beauty is scaring them.
I'm gonna say something I know you guys are gonna hate me for it, but pretty girls really have it the worst. Now, I don't say I'm like the most beautifulest person in the world, that's not a word, but you know, the prettiest girl out there. But in my experience, it's very hard to make friends when you are attractive. It's very hard to be in long-term relationships when you're attractive. It's very hard to be courted by a man because every man thinks you're already talking to a million other people because, oh my gosh, you're so beautiful already. There's no way that you could be single. No, sir. No, ma'am. I have like a handful of friends who I love and cherish, and these people hold me down. But everybody else just leaves me be.
A woman walks into a room, and the atmosphere shifts. Heads turn. Conversations falter. Time slows for just a moment as beauty eclipses everything ordinary. She is the embodiment of symmetry, grace, allure, and style. And yet, that same woman will later cry in a bathroom stall over a man who lies, cheats, gaslights, or disappears without a trace.
You ever notice when you look good, you get treated like shit? You get treated bad when you look good? When you are very attractive and you keep up with how you look, you take real good care of yourself, you always got your hair done, you always got your nails done. I mean, you just look good, you smell good, you dress nice. You get treated the worst when you are very attractive. I mean, especially at work. Females that are insecure, they like to make friends with other females that are insecure. They don't want to be best friends with females who look good, who smell nice. They don't want to be friends with attractive females. I mean, it's really about competition. That's why those insecure females feel like they don't have to speak to you because you look good, you're attractive. They only speak to other insecure females. So whenever you go to work and you just look very nice and you say good morning and you're just speaking, you're being polite, and the other female just gives you that look like, okay, whatever, that's because she's insecure. But she'll speak to other females that are insecure. She won't speak to you. And really the whole time, you're just being you. I don't know, like, it just be weird shit. Like, females are weird. That's why I don't fuck with them.
An insecure guy will always make problems for you because he's always gonna feel like you're in a higher league than him. He will not feel like he is good enough to keep you in a relationship and happy. And because of this feeling, he will sometimes resort to manipulation behaviors. Because he feels insecure, he's gonna wanna project that feeling onto you. He doesn't wanna feel the insecurity, so he's gonna do everything in his power to make you feel insecure about him. That's why sometimes, out of the blue, there are random women texting his phone. He's liking pictures on Instagram and making sure that it's noticeable. He's talking about certain women that you are concerned about. He all of a sudden creates arguments out of thin air. Where are you going? What are you doing? Who are you doing it with? And when you try to level up or do better for yourself, there will always be backhanded compliments.
The world told her she had the upper hand. She was desired, envied, pursued. So why, then, does her love life resemble a war zone? To understand this paradox, we must descend beneath surface attraction and into the psychological abyss Carl Jung spent his life mapping. Jung's theories reveal that beauty is not simply visual, it is symbolic. It carries projection. It activates the unconscious. It awakens the archetypal feminine, what Jung called the anima, in men who are still psychologically fragmented. And in insecure men, beauty does not just attract admiration. It provokes fear. It arouses inadequacy. It touches their deepest wounds and awakens their darkest shadows. The more radiant a woman is, the more she unconsciously activates what lies unhealed in others. Her beauty acts as a mirror, not just of fantasy, but of insufficiency. Men who feel internally small, unloved, ashamed, or emotionally immature are overwhelmed by the presence of a woman who embodies what they secretly feel unworthy of. Her very existence becomes a threat. Not because she's done anything wrong, but because her beauty unearths everything they've buried under ego and bravado. She makes them feel like boys again, naked, judged, vulnerable. In this regression, some men will respond by idealizing her, placing her on a pedestal, worshiping her as a goddess. But as Jung noted, what is worshipped unconsciously is soon destroyed. Because idealization is not love. It is the inability to see someone fully, flaws and all. And what cannot be seen fully cannot be loved safely. The pedestal eventually collapses, and when it does, men often punish the woman they once praised. They cheat to escape the pressure of measuring up. They lie to reassert dominance. They withdraw to protect their fragile sense of self. This is not an excuse for their behavior. It is a psychological autopsy, a crime scene analysis of what happens when internal chaos meets external perfection. A beautiful woman becomes a battlefield for unresolved boyhood wounds. The attention she receives is not a reflection of genuine worth. It's often a symptom of emotional dysfunction in those who pursue her. Jung wrote that when people project, they do not see the other person at all. They see their own fears, dreams, wounds, and longings wrapped in flesh. For many men, beauty is intoxicating. But like alcohol, what intoxicates you also disables you. A man may feel empowered by possessing a beautiful woman, but if his ego is weak, he will feel emasculated by the very thing he claims to love. He will begin to resent her desirability, her independence, her glow. He will want to dull her shine so that he can feel bright in comparison. And that dulling often takes the form of emotional sabotage, cheating, gaslighting, withdrawal, and subtle humiliation. The irony is painful. Beautiful women are often assumed to have more options, more power, more control. But in truth, they are often subjected to more projection, more betrayal, and more loneliness than the average woman. Because when men see a beautiful woman, they do not always see her. They see an idea, an archetype, a fantasy, a status symbol, a reward, but not a human. And so, when she fails to live up to that myth, as all humans inevitably do, she is punished for being mortal. To be stunning in a superficial world is not always a blessing. It is often a curse in disguise. The male gaze does not come without psychological baggage. Some men will pursue beautiful women as a form of self-validation. Others will use them to compete with other men. Still others will seek to conquer them as a substitute for self-worth. But very few will see them, and even fewer will love them without trying to control, possess, or diminish them. Carl Jung warned us that projection is the root of all suffering in relationships. A man who sees a woman as a goddess will eventually blame her for not saving him. A man who feels inadequate will turn his shame into rage. A man who cannot love himself will always fear being abandoned by someone he perceives as too good. Thus, beautiful women become collateral damage in a war between male ego and self-loathing. They become objects onto which unconscious emotions are dumped. Rage, longing, rejection, shame, inadequacy, and lust, all swirling around in the chaotic male psyche. The problem isn't that she is beautiful. The problem is that too many men haven't done the inner work to relate to beauty in a healthy way. Instead of integrating their own animus, their internal feminine, they chase external women as symbols of what they've suppressed. And when those women don't heal them or complete them, resentment grows. This resentment breeds punishment, and that punishment often looks like betrayal, affairs, emotional neglect, passive-aggressive disrespect, silent treatments. These are not random acts. They are psychological strategies, unconscious ones, meant to regain control over the unbearable feelings triggered by her existence. Insecure men do not cheat because the woman is lacking. They cheat because they are lacking. Lacking in self-awareness, lacking in maturity, lacking in the internal structure required to hold emotional intimacy. Her beauty becomes a mirror that reflects their inner emptiness. And to destroy that mirror, they destroy the relationship. Or they try to destroy her emotionally so they can stop feeling so small. It's a tragic dynamic. The more dazzling the woman, the more deeply she may be wounded. Because people do not see her. They see their own reflection in her glow. And reflections in Jungian psychology are often deceptive. Projection happens when someone cannot face a truth about themselves, so they project that truth outward onto another person. A man who feels emotionally weak may project strength onto a woman and then resent her for it. A man who secretly feels unattractive may project sexual power onto a woman and then accuse her of being too much when others notice her. A man who is terrified of abandonment may cheat first, just to feel in control. None of these actions are about her. They are about him. And yet, she suffers. This is why beautiful women often say, "I don't understand what I did wrong." The truth is, they did nothing wrong. They simply activated something unconscious in a man who didn't know how to handle what was being stirred. She was a catalyst for his insecurities, and instead of dealing with them like a man, he lashed out like a wounded boy. His cheating wasn't a result of her failure. It was the consequence of his unresolved trauma. Even more disturbing is how society often blames beautiful women for being mistreated. She must be high maintenance. She probably thinks she's better than everyone. Maybe she's too full of herself. These are defenses people use to make sense of a world where beauty is supposed to guarantee happiness, but clearly doesn't. Instead of questioning the emotional immaturity of the men who betray beautiful women, people question the women themselves. This compounds the pain. Now she's not only dealing with betrayal, but also blame, misunderstanding, isolation. In reality, the more externally magnetic a woman is, the more she needs emotional and psychological protection. Not because she is weak, but because she is powerful. And power draws both admiration and destruction. A bright light attracts moths, yes, but also shadows. Men who are whole within themselves can admire beauty without needing to possess or punish it. But men who are fractured will swing between worship and annihilation, between obsession and withdrawal, between overgiving and cruel detachment. This is the unstable dance between projection and reality. Jung believed that individuation, the process of becoming whole, required us to withdraw projections and integrate the unconscious. For a man, this means facing the parts of himself he once tried to find in a woman. His need to be mothered, his need to feel powerful by being desired, his terror of being vulnerable. When he fails to do this work, he becomes dangerous to the very women he claims to love, especially if they shine too brightly. A beautiful woman often enters a relationship thinking her love will be enough. That being kind, loyal, attentive, and physically attractive will protect her from betrayal. But she soon learns that betrayal is not about what she gives. It's about what the man cannot receive. Her tenderness may remind him of the nurturing he never got. Her sensuality may trigger sexual shame. Her intelligence may mirror his inadequacy. And rather than heal, he runs, or cheats, or controls. This is why some of the most admired women on the planet, models, actresses, public figures, are also the most mistreated. Because their visibility amplifies everything: the beauty, the projection, the envy, the fantasy, the fear. Men pursue them not just for love, but for ego, power, and status. And when the fantasy doesn't align with reality, these women are discarded or degraded, not because they failed, but because they triggered something unconscious that the man wasn't ready to meet. It must be said, this isn't true of all men. There are men who have done the inner work, who can hold space for a woman's beauty without being destabilized by it. Men who don't see beauty as a conquest, but as an invitation to deepen connection. These men exist, but they are rare. And for a woman who radiates physical and energetic magnetism, finding such a man may feel like searching for water in the desert. Until then, she will attract many who are drawn to her light, but terrified of what it reveals in them. Jung often emphasized that until we make the unconscious conscious, it will rule our lives and we will call it fate. Many beautiful women think it is fate that they are mistreated. They start to believe something is wrong with them. But what's wrong is not their essence. It's the world's inability to relate to beauty without distortion. What's wrong is the epidemic of emotionally wounded men who think relationships are therapy, and women are the healers. What's wrong is the cultural lie that beauty guarantees happiness. To be truly beautiful is to live in a paradox. You are desired by many, but deeply known by few. You are given attention, but not always respect. You are envied, but rarely understood. And unless you've built strong inner boundaries, you will internalize the mistreatment you receive as a reflection of your worth. But it's not. It's a reflection of their shadow. This is why shadow work is crucial, not just for men, but for beautiful women as well. Because without it, a woman may fall into the trap of overgiving, overpleasing, or overperforming in an attempt to be good enough for a man who is emotionally broken. She may keep attracting the same type of man, the one who love bombs and then vanishes, the one who cheats, then cries, the one who seems so confident but crumbles in the face of intimacy. Without deep self-awareness, she becomes a magnet for unresolved trauma. So what is the solution? First, understanding. Understanding that being beautiful in a broken world will come with projection. Understanding that being adored is not the same as being respected. Understanding that some men are drawn to her only because she activates something they haven't healed. This understanding is the beginning of power. Not the kind of power that controls others, but the power that chooses wisely, detaches gracefully, and sets boundaries unapologetically. Second, discernment. Not every man who desires her deserves her. Not every compliment is sincere. Not every lover is safe. She must look beyond charm, beyond status, beyond surface confidence. She must listen to her body, her intuition, her inner voice. Because while her outer beauty draws people in, it is her inner clarity that protects her. And without that clarity, she is vulnerable to the most dangerous kind of betrayal, the kind that looks like love at first. Third, spiritual sovereignty. Carl Jung believed that the psyche longs for wholeness, not perfection. And wholeness requires the integration of shadow. A woman who knows herself deeply, who has faced her own wounds, integrated her own shadows, and reclaimed her own worth, is less likely to be broken by a man who hasn't done the same. She sees through projection. She feels the subtle shifts. She recognizes red flags not as tests of her loyalty, but as signs to walk away. She no longer confuses chaos with chemistry, nor does she mistake being chosen for being cherished. Her inner beauty becomes her shield. And this is what truly terrifies insecure men. Because once a beautiful woman awakens, she cannot be manipulated by lust, flattery, or potential. She sees through ego. She recognizes shadow. She becomes immune to games. The very things that once made her vulnerable now become her greatest weapons: discernment, boundaries, and a deep understanding of human psychology. When she begins to attract from a place of wholeness rather than emptiness, the quality of men around her changes. She no longer tolerates emotional breadcrumbs or ambiguous behavior. She stops chasing closure and begins trusting her inner compass. She doesn't fear walking away because her self-worth is not dependent on anyone else's validation. And this shift, from external approval to internal alignment, marks the beginning of her emotional liberation. She is no longer a victim of projection. She becomes the mirror in which others must confront themselves. The cultural myth that beautiful women have it easier in relationships is just that, a myth. What they often have is more attention, not more love, more projection, not more intimacy, more desire, not more devotion. This is why many beautiful women feel deeply unseen, because what is seen is often a fantasy, not their truth. They are admired, but rarely met soul to soul. Until they become deeply self-aware, they may continue to unconsciously play roles assigned to them by others, muse, trophy, object, fantasy, never the full human being they truly are. Carl Jung wrote, "Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart." For a woman, especially a beautiful one, this clarity is non-negotiable. Without it, she becomes trapped in a loop of betrayal, confusion, and shame. But when she begins the inner journey, when she explores her own wounds, patterns, and shadow material, she begins to reframe everything. She realizes that the men who cheated, lied, or disappeared were not reflections of her worth, but of their own unprocessed pain. And this realization is not only freeing, it is transformative. This transformation doesn't mean she becomes cold, guarded, or cynical. It means she becomes selective. She reclaims her energy. She starts to see her beauty not as currency, but as sacred expression. She stops trying to be low maintenance or palatable to fragile egos. She stands in her radiance without apology. And this changes everything. Because now, only men who are emotionally whole can approach her without fear or projection. Only men who have faced their own shadows can meet her in truth. Jung emphasized that the process of individuation is a sacred unfolding of the self. For beautiful women, individuation often begins with heartbreak, with being mistreated by those who claim to love them, with the disillusionment that comes when fantasy meets reality. But if they stay on the path, that pain becomes the catalyst for awakening. They begin to question the narratives they've been fed. They stop internalizing rejection. They realize that the betrayal was never personal. It was psychological, archetypal, collective. This is why so many beautiful women end up becoming healers, teachers, and guides. Their suffering becomes wisdom. Their empathy becomes strength. They stop competing with other women and start helping them rise. They no longer live to be desired. They live to be aligned. And in doing so, they attract partnerships rooted not in possession, but in mutual growth. Not in fantasy, but in conscious love. Let us not forget, though, that this evolution is not easy. It requires grief. Grief for the years spent doubting themselves. Grief for the relationships that fell apart. Grief for the version of them that tolerated less than they deserved. But in that grief, something new is born. A woman who is no longer defined by her reflection, but by her resonance. A woman whose beauty is not just seen, but felt. And that kind of beauty can never be mistreated, because it is protected by consciousness. So to every woman who has ever asked, "Why did he cheat if I gave him everything?" The answer is, you gave more than he was ready to receive. Not because you were too much, but because he was not enough for himself. He saw your light and couldn't bear to be exposed. He wanted your radiance without your reality. He desired your body but rejected your soul. That is not love, that is projection. And projection always collapses under the weight of truth. When a woman learns this, she stops chasing understanding from those who cannot even understand themselves. She no longer performs emotional labor in relationships that offer no reciprocity. She walks with grace, not guilt. She leaves when her intuition whispers, not when her spirit breaks. And this self-trust becomes the foundation of her new life. A life no longer dictated by external beauty, but by inner brilliance. Jung would remind us that until a man has integrated his own anima, the inner feminine, he will project it onto women and destroy them when they fail to complete him. This is why the healing of men is essential for the protection of women. When men begin to do their shadow work, to heal their mother wounds, to dismantle their ego defenses, they become safe. Not perfect, but safe. And only then can relationships become sacred spaces instead of battlegrounds.